Hey, I'm Nick. I have a degree in film. My opinions are super important. And these are my top 100 films of the 2010s. Wow, what a decade. Remember when we could leave our homes? Now, brace yourself. This list is not going to match up with yours, but that's what makes it so much fun. And if you want a list everyone can agree on, there's this really cool website called Rotten Tomatoes. I feel like I'm getting really defensive already, so let's just get this thing started with number 100. The Smash Bros.
Out of 649 GameCube games, Melee was by a wide margin the most popular. But despite the insistence that it should be a casual experience, a few players saw it as much more than that, and they took it to another level.
This is a 4-hour-long YouTube documentary on Super Smash Bros., and I think that's a great primer for this list as a whole, because I'm going to be throwing a lot of wacky stuff at you, some things that people might not even consider to be movies, and frankly, I don't give a care. When I saw this 5 years ago, I had barely ever played Smash Bros. The subject didn't click with me at all. But this is just peak documentary storytelling. There are some obvious comparisons to be made with The King of Kong, but unlike The King of Kong, there's no sense of, I'm better than this, I'm going to look down at this culture of gamers and point and laugh at them for the silly people that they are. There's legit glory and grandeur in this comprehensive history of the world of Smash Bros. And the whole thing has sort of a faux action movie trailer vibe to it, which I really enjoy. I went on Kijiji after this thing was over and I hunted for a copy of Super Smash Bros. Melee because I did not want this thing to end. Thankfully, I was not able to get a copy. Number 99, Unsane.
I'm trying to tell you that the man...
And I'm adding a course of risperidone and lithium to your meds.
Well, what's that for?
To keep you from hurting anyone else. And yourself.
You serious? That's your diagnosis? You're sedating me. When I've just told you there's a predator who's followed me from here from another city.
Soderbergh shot this entirely on iPhones, which is classic Berg, but that choice isn't just a filmmaking gimmick. It also beautifully dovetails aesthetically with this theme of stalking and being recorded without your knowledge, and there's a great ambiguity at the core of this movie over whether Claire Foy is a reliable narrator, whether she's actually being stalked, which it's easy to read that as super obvious social commentary, but I think it's just a delicious dynamic between the movie and the audience. The whole thing is so creepy, so well-crafted, well-acted, just so very Soderbergh. It's a terrifying ride, and from a technical standpoint, it's a great example of what you can do with not a whole lot. Number 98, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
I'd appreciate it if you'd deposit your weapon in the receptacle by the swinging doors, which concealing of it on your person in the first place was a violation of the rules of this establishment and an offense against local norms.
And if I don't?
This decade was a bit lacking in Coen brothers' goodness, at least relative to the 90s and 2000s, but this is a perfect example of what they're all about. No one else could have made this glorious anthology western, and all of the short stories here oscillate between this live-action cartoon level of absurdity, kind of Hudsucker Proxy-style stuff, and that more nuanced kind of Coen dramedy that we all know and love. There's a particularly long short in here with Zoe Kazan that could easily be a full Coen Bros movie with just a little more meat to it. My favorite segment is Tom Waits as an old prospector meticulously searching for gold, aka Mr. Pocket, which he said in interviews is a metaphor for his whole artistic process. And that's pretty cool. Number 97, you guessed it, macgrubber.
Be with Vicky.
I can't do that to you.
You have to move on with your life.
I don't know what to say.
And don't say anything.
Baby, it's all I know.
I am in awe of this movie. I don't think anyone in their right mind would look at the tiny MacGruber sketches on SNL and think, you know, these would work great if they were just significantly longer. The whole premise of MacGruber is he doesn't have enough time to stop the bomb before it explodes, but somehow this unnecessary expansion of the MacGruber mythos that no one asked for works like this was the plan the whole time, and his relationship with the ghost of his wife must be seen to be understood. Trigger warning, number 96 deals with themes of suicide. Christine.
Mike, level with me. I haven't led in over a month now. Tell me what I have to do to get to Baltimore.
Why not try to get me something like this?
Because this is totally at odds with the work that I've been doing, Mike. It's exploitative.
Then why are so many people watching it?
Okay, let's take a sharp right turn into deeply upsettingsville, because Christine is the story of Christine Chubbuck's final days. She was a local news reporter who took her own life live on television in 1974. And I'm not entirely sure how accurate this movie is to Chubbuck's real-life struggles, but it's a really gripping depiction of depression in general, and I think it makes a valuable point about what it means to be suicidal. Even if you have a group of people in your life who want to help you out and are invested in you getting better, there has to be something beyond that. It's not simply a matter of shifting your thinking, as one character in the movie suggests. There's a limit to what non-professionals can do, and Rebecca Hall really nails this super complex, difficult character. There's nothing glamorous or romantic about how everything plays out here. It is not pulling a 13 Reasons Why on us. Number 95, Wonder Woman.
Hello, miss. Would you like to buy an ice cream?
Me?
Yeah, fresh ice cream.
Yes. Thank you.
8 pence, please, sir.
There you go, pal. Keep the change.
Thank you very much, sir.
What do you think?
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
You should be very proud.
Thank you very much.
It feels really weird putting this so high up after Wonder Woman 1984 and really every single other Godot Wonder Woman movie, because at least in this iteration the character has never really worked, but here she does. And what makes her work so well is that intense contrast in perspectives. You know, she's this god walking amongst us, she's an idealist, and she approaches everything with curiosity and vigor and hope, and it is just so contagious. And unfortunately, you can only really play that card once, because every other movie she's in takes place decades later and she's acclimated to humanity. There are many things that don't quite come together here. The final battle is just a comic book movie, paint by numbers kind of situation, but what does works so well. We get roughly 274 comic book movies a year, and this was just such a breath of fresh air, a real jolt to the system. Number 94, Michael Bolton's Big Sexy Valentine's Day Special.
Don't touch the piano? What are you, fucking crazy? You tease it. You don't press the keys. Make those punks feel you. Give it to me. Give it to me. And when they come for you, and believe me, they will come for you, this performance will be the only thing to prove that Michael Bolton is cool.
The Lonely Island and Michael Bolton made a Valentine's Day special, and if somehow you haven't seen it, just pause the video, put it on your list, because it is dynamite. Not all of it is hilarious, but I'm sure there's not a single scene I've revisited more in the movies released in the last decade than Michael Sheen's angry dance coachman explaining how to get rid of punk kids, challenging Michael Bolton for not actually being cool. It's just one of the great sketches of the last 10 years, and generally overlooked because it's in the middle of this really bizarre Netflix special, and there's a piano-only cover of Jack Sparrow, which is criminally undercovered by the song-covering community. Number 93, Brawl in Cell Block 99.
You want to start some stuff?
I'm more of a finisher.
Loca en la cabeza.
That's right, I'm loco. Now get the fuck out of my crazy way.
This is a movie about Vince Vaughn versus a car, Vince Vaughn versus the police, Vince Vaughn versus prison. Now, I saw this at TIFF as part of a Midnight Madness screening that timed the titular Brawl with the stroke of midnight, and it was a theatrical experience like few I've had, perhaps even greater than 4DX. I don't know how this movie plays outside of a delightful mob of TIFFers, but I can't separate that evening from my delight at this movie. It's just made of pulp. But Zoller also manages this unique restraint in how he carries out many absurdly violent sequences. They're just weirdly matter-of-fact, and it makes everything feel that much more explosive. Number 92, Side Effects.
Dr. Rings, I really need to talk to you.
Emily. Yeah, I just got your message. I'm with my wife.
I went to your office, but you weren't there. So I came here and, Can we just go talk?
If it's an emergency, I can admit you.
I just, I was getting on the subway and it was like when I was in the car.
This movie is such a twisty, sneaky, sticky trap, and I can't even promise it's the last twisty Soderbergh medical drama thriller on this list, okay? I find myself coming back to it a lot because it's really like 15 Soderbergh movies in one. Not to give too much away, but the premise just kind of keeps on morphing, and through all of these seismic shifts, it's still fundamentally, quintessentially Sods. Jude Law is a perfect Soderbergh muse. Rooney Mara is so convincing. I find her legitimately scary because of this movie. And Catherine Zeta-Jones angrily yelling, "You're a fucking genius," is a super underrated comic moment from her. Number 91, Wildlife.
Jeanette. I never liked that. Seemed like a waitress's name.
What would you rather be called?
Well, there used to be a singer named Lottie. La-di-da. How would that be?
I like Jeanette.
You have to like me the way I am.
This is Paul Dano's directorial debut, and he found this kid that looks far too much like him. He framed the story around this boy, and he may very well be a Paul Dano clone that Paul Dano grew in a lab specifically to play Little Paul Dano. It's a coming-of-age story, but it manages to invert that classic setup by making it really about the parents. The parents are having a tougher time defining themselves than their kid. They're the ones figuring out the world and their identity, and this poor little Paul Dano has to make sense of his own life through that lens. Carey Mulligan is absolutely on fire as this woman who is just taking a sledgehammer to an interior life that feels so lived in from the very first frame, and Dano just has a great eye as a director right out of the gate. Thank you so much for joining me on the first of many journeys into the 2010s. These first few lists are going to really veer weirder, so stay tuned for some ridiculous picks that you're just not going to see anywhere else. I hope I see you next time for numbers 90 through to 81. This is Nick, I have a degree in film, and I'm signing off.